I picked Beterbiev, but I honestly was saying to myself, if it's close again, they're gonna give it to Bivol. Commentators have to be completely objective. And I feel like that a lot of times they're biased. I feel like they have an agenda. I feel like that for two fights in a row, they favor Beterbiev. They favor Bivol consistently, even with the replays.
Bivol's dominant win over Beterbiev has sparked a range of reactions, with some experts criticizing the scoring, calling it biased and unjust. Although Beterbiev, who had knocked out every opponent except Bivol, remained dangerous, it was Bivol who seized control of the center of the ring in the championship rounds. With scorecards reading 114 to 114, 116 to 112, and 115 to 113, Bivol secured the WBA, WBC, WBO, and IBF titles. Bivol has given a masterclass performance in his rematch, but a number of people are dissatisfied with the scorecard. Michael Buffer claimed that he disagreed with the scorecard of the rematch, but it was undoubtedly one of the great fights though.
It looks like we might go to number 3. I hope so. You know, it's amazing. Most people I talked to had it wider than the judges, especially the judges had it a draw. But classic offense, defense, leg work, counter-punching. It was a great fight.
Looking forward to the trilogy, Michael emphasized that the fight was a classic one, regardless of what the scorecards may have said. In his eyes, this was one of the most incredible bouts he had ever witnessed, an epic battle that transcended numbers and statistics. The intensity, the heart, and the sheer willpower displayed by both fighters were what truly stood out.
Yeah, really. I mean, regardless of the scores, it was a real fight. It was a matador in a bowl type of thing that you love to see, and let's see it again.
This fight has ignited a heated debate, with mixed opinions swirling around whether the decision was fair or swayed by the politics of boxing. Some argue that the winner was elevated unfairly, casting doubt on the legitimacy of the result. The question of whether Bivol truly deserved the victory remains a hot topic, as fans and analysts alike weigh in on the outcome. Amidst the controversy, the buzz surrounding a potential trilogy is growing louder. Spencer Fearon shared his insights on the rematch, highlighting what he believed went wrong and dissecting the pivotal moments that ultimately influenced the outcome. His perspective added fuel to the conversation, offering a fresh take on the fight's turning points and the broader implications for both fighters moving forward.
It's kind of weird because most of the people were coming to me, like my good man here, and he was saying to me, like, how he scored it. But I'll tell you the thing is this, yeah? Okay, then Bivol got it. There's a lost art in boxing, that's footwork, and Bivol demonstrated that. But the major thing was this, when on the highlights, yeah, and I'm so happy that Richie Woodall, former world champion, right, turned around and said the same thing. How comes they were, like, Beterbiev would win like 2.5 minutes of a round, and Bivol throw a flurry, but it's the flurries that they were showing on the highlights, right? I'm just saying, you know what I mean? And I didn't like that. But I'm not saying the right man won, but it's kind of poetic justice, right?
At the same time, Spencer shared his appreciation for both fighters, recognizing their talent and hard work. Although he expressed concerns about Beterbiev's defeat, he pointed out that Beterbiev demonstrated aspects in this rematch that were absent in their first meeting. Fearon also discussed the possible aftermath of the fight and commended Bivol for putting on an exceptional performance.
Let's have it. I do feel it for Beterbiev because the things that he didn't do in the last fight, he did in the first. He started really fast, right? And he was pressing. But you know what? Fair play to Bivol because his lateral movement was excellent. And the thing about it is this, just like when people were saying, he must have watched the April 87 fight with Sugar Ray Leonard, how Leonard dealt with Hagler, and he did exactly the same thing again in this fight here. But he threw more flurries in this fight. So you know what? It is what it is.
Before the fight, it was suggested that Beterbiev might have had a better performance in their first encounter if he had focused on attacking the body earlier. Analysts speculated that this time, Beterbiev would begin by targeting Bivol's body right from the start. Similarly, Ade Oladipo commented on the rematch, noting how aggressive Beterbiev had been in the early rounds.
Then Beterbiev started to really turn it up. I mean, he went to the body, he went to the head. He came out so aggressive. Like, he came out as though it was round 10 and he's been told, okay, you're down. That's how he came out. And he came out so aggressive. And I've always said this about Beterbiev. It's not that he's a weight bully, but he is so big for the weight. Like, he is so strong. His back is wide. His legs are really thick, and he's very scary, isn't he? And we know the punch power. So he started to really land shots, and there's a couple of people behind me. Although it was very loud in the arena, we're going to get to the arena as well, because I think all the fights should happen at that arena. There's a couple of guys behind me, and they were saying, oh, he's got to Bivol. He's got to Bivol.
Ade Oladipo, who was at the venue, couldn't hide his emotions as he witnessed the fight unfold. He remarked that in the initial 5 to 7 rounds, Bivol was thoroughly overpowered, leaving him with little chance of victory. However, he highlighted that from rounds 8 to 10, Bivol delivered an exceptional performance, turning the fight around and displaying remarkable skill and composure.
That's what they were saying, and I was kind of following along to that narrative, like, man, Bivol, there's nothing he can do. Like, Bivol's having to work, and I mean, I don't know how fit these guys are, man. It's incredible, but he's having to work off the back foot. I mean, he's doing everything. Like, he is literally going into that tool bag and throwing everything he can at Beterbiev, and nothing is working. And I felt like that was the way it played out from rounds 5 to, I'm going to say 5, 6, and 7. I'm going to say that 5, 6, and 7. I thought, oh my God, like, Bivol was just he wasn't getting beaten up, but he was getting bullied. That's the exact word. He was getting bullied. And I was thinking, shit, like, and then he had a round 8, and I then lost my mind. I honestly, it was unprofessional, and I apologized, and it was a bit embarrassing. I started shouting. I was like, come on, Bivol, come on. I looked at his corner. I was like, come on. I'm like, Ade, what are you doing? But I couldn't control myself. I said this on the video I made yesterday. Rounds 8, 9, and 10, maybe even 11, but definitely 8, 9, and 10 was some of the best boxing I think I've ever seen live, ever, from anybody. And I've been lucky enough to have seen a lot of good live boxing. Like, I saw Crawford bash up Spence, and that was fascinating. But rounds 8, 9 of 10 of Bivol, considering how rounds 5, 6, and 7 looked, rounds 8, 9, and 10, and considering who he was up against, I thought was just, it was a masterclass. Honestly, it was a masterclass.
Stephen Breadman Edwards also shared his perspective on the potential clash between two legendary fighters, each delivering their best performance. He mentioned that it was a closely contested bout, and at one point, he even expected the fight to end in a draw. Edwards reflected on how the match might be viewed, acknowledging that he had no problem with the scorecards. However, he stressed that the intense back and forth between the two throughout the fight was what truly stood out.
I thought it was a great fight. I don't like the way the announcers favor everything Bivol does. I'm being totally honest. With the first part of the fight, I think I saw something up on the screen. Beterbiev had a good round, and they were showing highlights of Bivol. The same thing happened in the first fight. I picked Beterbiev, but I honestly was saying to myself, if it's close again, they're going to give it to Bivol. Thought Bivol fought his butt off again. And to me, it's no real separation between the two. The fight looked like it was a drawish kind of fight again. You know, down the stretch, I thought Beterbiev won the 10th, Bivol won the 11th, and Beterbiev won the 12th. I thought that the fight was in the balance going down the stretch. I have no problem with 6-6, which is 114, 114. I have no problem with 115, 113 either way. I thought Beterbiev took over the middle rounds. Bivol came back on. It was a back and forth kind of thing. I thought Beterbiev wasn't getting enough credit for the earlier. But like the first round, I thought Beterbiev won. But somebody said that Bivol was up 30-27. I'm like, I think Beterbiev might have won the first round. Much didn't happen, but it still has to be scored. They're really, really hard.
Coach Breadman didn't hold back in his criticism of the fight's management. He argued that the judges should have been more neutral, stating that in all of Bivol's previous bouts, the judges had displayed a clear bias in his favor. While acknowledging that the fight was extremely close, he felt it had the atmosphere of a draw. Breadman suggested that both fighters had their moments of control, but neither truly dominated the other. He stressed that it was a contest where neither fighter deserved to be unquestionably declared the winner, and in his view, the outcome should have been a draw to better represent the balanced nature of the fight.
It probably was another draw, but I thought Beterbiev was slightly edging it, to be honest. I thought he was edging it a little bit, and then when he cut him in the last round, I'm like, okay, is either going to be 6'6" or 7'5". I was actually shocked to hear, I think 116, 112. Neither guy won 8 rounds to me. But it's something that I'm not calling anybody out, but something that's happened in boxing that I just think that we just need to address. You know, the commentators have to be completely objective. And I feel like that a lot of times they're biased. I feel like they have an agenda. I feel like that for 2 fights in a row, they favor Beterbiev. They favor Bivol consistently, even with the replays. I also feel like that corral around the ring, nobody should be there except for judges, officials, and the cornermen of the fighters.
Some analysts consider the rematch to be a close contest, while others believe it ended in a draw. Eddie Hearn shared his thoughts on the matter, acknowledging that while the first fight was closely contested, the rematch was not. He emphasized that they shouldn't be denied this time around.
Please don't do it to us again. Don't rob us again. That's what I thought. The first fight was much closer. This was not a close fight.
Frank Smith, the CEO of Matchroom Boxing, stepped into the spotlight to address the recent controversy surrounding the fight. He described the 114-114 scorecard as absurd and made it clear that in this case, the right fighter had claimed victory. Smith firmly backed Dimitri Bivol, stating that his win was fully deserved. Smith also called for a significant change in boxing, emphasizing the need for greater transparency and fairness in judging, and urging the sport to evolve.
Crazy scorecard. Dimitri Bivol won the first time round, didn't get the result. Tonight, he deserved that result. The 114 was crazy, but the right man won. So let's, we need change in the sport, obviously, but the right man won, and that's the key for tonight, obviously.
In their highly anticipated rematch, Dimitri Bivol emerged victorious with a majority decision, avenging his defeat to Artur Beterbiev from 4 months prior. The win not only gave Bivol his revenge, but also allowed him to take Beterbiev's titles and claim the undisputed light heavyweight status. Similar to their first encounter, the fight was fiercely competitive. Bivol showcased his technical skills, effectively countering Beterbiev's raw power and aggression. Despite Beterbiev's constant pressure, Bivol skillfully used angles to regain control and outbox him. The fight was a true display of boxing mastery, igniting calls for a trilogy, with the term trilogy trending on social media. Irish boxer Michael Conlon also expressed his excitement to see a third fight. He took to Twitter and wrote, "They are the perfect dance partner. Bivol rightful winner in my eyes, but I want to see the trilogy." Ade Oladipo expressed his enthusiasm for a potential trilogy between Bivol and Beterbiev, sparking excitement within the boxing world. While he mentioned David Benavidez as a possible next opponent for Bivol, he also proposed a more intriguing matchup, Canelo Alvarez facing Bivol at 168 pounds. Oladipo argued that a Canelo-Bivol fight at super middleweight would be far more compelling than a showdown between Canelo and Terence Crawford. He confidently stated that Bivol would have no trouble making the move to 168 pounds.
I love Dimitri Bivol. Trilogy next, right? You've kind of got to. There are so many other options for Bivol. Benavidez is now an option. It's kind of it's going to sound stupid, but it's kind of a shame that Crawford's fighting Canelo, because I think Canelo Bivol at 168, I think Bivol can make 168. I really do. I think Bivol can make 168. Canelo Bivol at 168. Bivol trying to become double undisputed.
Duke McKenzie also weighed in, backing the idea of a trilogy between Beterbiev and Bivol. While acknowledging Beterbiev's formidable power, he praised Bivol's remarkable skills, which were on full display during the fight. McKenzie noted Bivol's progress since their first meeting, applauding his performance and his ability to adapt to Beterbiev's constant pressure. His comments only heightened the growing anticipation for a possible third showdown between the two.
Well, and they're going to have a trilogy now, right? Which is rightly so, because you're right, you can't really split these guys. They're that evenly matched. Obviously, the power lies with Beterbiev, but the overall skill set lies with Bivol. He's just got. I like him a lot, Bivol, because I like what he does. I like the way that he carries himself. They both carry themselves really well, both inside and outside of the ring. But we're actually talking about the fight. And if you look at the fight and how it all started to unfold, what Bivol done in this fight, which he didn't do in the first fight, He got off to a really good start. The first 2 or 3 rounds, he got into a good start. Then Bivol came back into the fight in the middle rounds. But once Bivol got his nose in front from round 7, round 8, he stayed there. He didn't back up this time. He was prepared to meet fire with fire, and he stood and he traded when he needed to trade, and then he went on the missing list when he needed to go missing. But he wasn't running away. He slid to the side, he moved back, he stepped in, he stepped out.
Former cruiserweight champion Lawrence Okolie also weighed in on the fight, expressing that while he personally felt Beterbiev had won, he recognized the strong support from many in the boxing community who believed Bivol deserved the victory. He praised the outcome, describing the fight as a hard-fought and closely contested battle. Okolie also spoke highly of both their first and second encounters, stressing that a third fight between the two is essential, given the excitement and competitiveness displayed in both matchups.
I thought Beterbiev won, but I think a lot of people ringside thought that Bivol won, so I think it's obviously a close fight, great fight. I love their first fight, love their second fight, and maybe they get a third.
Trainer Derek Bozy Ennis reacted to the decisive victory of Bivol against Beterbiev. He pointed out that this fight was similar to their first encounter, and he was already assuming Bivol to win this fight. He called the fight a close fight, but hailed Bivol for giving an incredible performance throughout the fight.
Well, to me, the fight was almost similar to the first fight. You know what I mean? But he was letting his hands go a little bit more, to me. Bivol was throwing them combinations and moving, and he was looking sharp, man. You know what I mean? But you can't take him from Benavidez. He kept that pressure, man, and letting his hands go, man. So, you know, it was a close fight, though. I mean, Bivol won. You know, Bivol won, you know, and I won.
Beterbiev, 40, unleashed powerful punches early on, but as the fight progressed, he began to fatigue, giving Bivol the opportunity to avenge his points loss from October. Bivol found his rhythm with his jab and swift footwork, two of his standout abilities, starting strong with impressive combinations and a sharp counter right hand in the second round. The Canada-based Beterbiev dug in and fired explosive right hands, rocking Bivol in the 5th with a punishing flurry that culminated in a right to the temple. Despite his first career defeat 4 months ago, one many felt he had actually won, Bivol didn't dwell on it and vowed to improve. He regained his composure, landing sharper, more precise punches while skillfully avoiding Beterbiev's attacks in the 8th and 9th rounds. Speaking to the DAZN, Bivol explained his mindset during this rematch, reflecting on the difference in his game plan, and stated, "I'm just so happy. I went through a lot the last few years. I lost, and I feel a little bit easier. I didn't pressure too much this time like before. I was just wanting to work from the first round to the 12th and hope I did enough." It was widely recognized that Bivol performed significantly better this time, as anticipated. While he adopted a more aggressive approach in the final 3 rounds, many believe that in their first encounter, Bivol had coasted through those rounds. Derek Ennis speculated on the key differences in this fight and emphasized the attributes that set Bivol apart this time around.
They was telling him the last fight that he gave the last 3 rounds away. That's why. You know what I mean? I think he's been hearing that's all he's been hearing is that, you know, don't get these last 3 rounds away like you did before. And I think that's why he was turning up a little bit more.
Despite the controversy surrounding the unfair scorecards, the demand for a rematch and a trilogy is gaining momentum. Derek also shared his eagerness to see a third fight, and when discussing the trilogy, mentioned Benavidez as a potential opponent for Bivol. However, he emphasized that before that, he wanted to see a rematch between Bivol and Beterbiev.
Nah, I would love to see a third fight, but because them fights right there, that's what you call fights, man. Good fights, man. Real good fights, man. I wouldn't mind seeing that. But I'd love to see him fighting Benavidez too, though. But I'd rather for them to have that rematch first.
After achieving his goal of becoming the undisputed champion, Dmitry Bivol reflected on the fight. Despite the looming pressure of Artur Beterbiev's reputation, and many considering him a serious threat to Bivol, the champion himself didn't see it that way. He stressed that his focus remained on executing the game plan without being distracted. Bivol credited his success to reaching a level where he could handle any opponent. He also expressed gratitude towards his corner team for their unwavering support. He mentioned that there were moments when Beterbiev appeared to tire, which gave him a boost during the bout.
I think this is about to be a professional boxer, to be a pro in your what you are doing, because sometimes you could be distracted with something But the real pro, he will follow his plan, you know, doesn't matter what. Some issues, but he's still following, and he's reaching his goal. And I like that. I prove myself that I'm a really pro fighter. I could following my plan, doesn't matter what, doesn't matter about his pressure. And thanks my corner also, they will keep telling me that just work, he's tiring also, just do your job, moving and counter-attack.
As discussions for a potential trilogy move forward and fans eagerly anticipate it, there's also increasing buzz around Bivol's next opponent, with names like Benavidez and Canelo being brought up. Bivol shared his perspective, recognizing the excitement but making it clear that this is his time to savor being the first undisputed light heavyweight champion in boxing history. He confidently declared that he's prepared to face anyone, whether it's the trilogy or another challenger.
I'm open for any fight. But today I wanna enjoy that I'm undisputed champion. I wanna take care of my health because I have some issues. I wanna heal myself and then move forward again. Doesn't matter, trilogy, Benavidez, Canelo, or I just, as always, I'm just waiting offer and I'm saying yes.
In the lead up to the rematch, there was much talk about how Bivol, having felt Beterbiev's power in their initial fight, would use that experience to his advantage this time. After the fight, Bivol reflected on this, noting how the experience helped him maintain focus on his game plan and stay committed to his strategy throughout the match.
You know, I was just trying to following my plan, my plan for the fight. We knew that he could start from the beginning, from the first round he could start pressuring. But my task was just keep moving, be focused, and counterpunch.
Anthony Yarde also shared his thoughts on the judge's decision, stating that he believed Beterbiev was the rightful winner. However, he considered the fight to be a draw and emphasized that while he favored Beterbiev, the decision could still be debated. While many think that Bivol succeeded in snatching the belt from Beterbiev, Anthony Yarde holds a different perspective.
I thought personally, Beterbiev won, small margin, or it was a draw. But again, can't argue with the decision being given.
Just his pressure in it, you thought that Beterbiev deserved it?
I just personally believe Beterbiev is the champion.
Yeah.
I didn't see it as like he took Beterbiev's belt away from him. It was a close fight. So sometimes when you're the challenger, I feel like you need to take someone's belts away from them.
Well, there you have it, folks. After analyzing the controversial decision in Bivol's victory, it's hard to ignore the overwhelming evidence pointing towards a biased and unfair judgment. The fight raised more questions than answers, and we're left wondering, was it really a victory or a decision influenced by something deeper? Let us know what you think in the comments. Do you agree with the claim that Bivol's win was a fraud, or do you see it differently? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay updated with more in-depth analysis and discussions. Until next time, keep your gloves up and your opinion sharper.